What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counter Punch Boxing News, and I got some news for you concerning Anthony Joshua. This is the official recap. He just knocks out Povetkin in 7 rounds, but I gotta tell you, Povetkin was no easy task. Now I can understand why he was a golden Olympian in 2004. 1 loss, now 2. Comes in, man, first round, and it looks like it was just a typical Joshua round. Joshua was pumping the jab. Povetkin, he took a lot of time, I guess, measuring up the distance between him and Joshua, and then at the end of that round, he caught Joshua with a 3-punch combination. And it was an awkward timing speed that he had, and there were looping punches. I mean, this is a hooker, right? And regardless of what Anthony Joshua says, he says, man, I wasn't buckled, but he was buckled. He had to regroup. He got hit with 3 punches, and that took him off his stance. And you could see his legs went back. And, that didn't come from him off balance. That came from those punches. And Povetkin, with 24 knockouts, 34 wins, 1 loss, he's just not a devastating puncher. But you can tell those short, quick, looping punches were getting to Joshua. And this was throughout the night. This wasn't just this 1 round. This is the beginning of the onslaught. Second round, more of the same. Povetkin going over the right. And for some reason, Anthony Joshua was not putting his left up. I don't know what that was about. And then he dropped it all away. And that's what kind of had me worried. I don't know if he was trying to work on something or emulate somebody or whatever that he's done in the gym and training camp. You notice he got lower to Povetkin to like his equal height. Because, Povetkin's 6'2". He's what, 6'6", 6'5"? So, I noticed he started doing that, but Povetkin had this looping, like a Jeff Horn like right hand over his jab most of that bout, as long as it lasted, and had Joshua's nose busted, bloodied. This is the second round. Okay, he really did that at the end of the first. But, it really started free-flowing when he started teeing off. Rounds 3 and 4, I noticed what Joshua started doing. He noticed that Povetkin was a lot faster than he, I guess, anticipated. And he was able to time Joshua, and it really helped Povetkin. His last 5 opponents were all 6'5", or a lot taller than him. And Povetkin's not a short dude, but he's just not tall like, a Wilder or a Fury, you know what I mean? So he's accustomed to fighting guys, in his last 5 fights, he was undefeated. So this, he was trying to remain and keep that winning streak. So, I think those punches bothered AJ a little. Because again, they weren't devastating punches, but they were hard, quick, sharp punches. You know what I mean? He was throwing them, and the way he was throwing them, he was getting leverage off of them. And he was starting to time AJ. And that fight pretty much was the same thing. Because I would give Povetkin the rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because he was doing the same thing. Now, round 6, things started to change a little bit because Anthony Joshua, he started going to the body. He started working that jab a lot quicker. He started just snapping the jab out there, but then it's still with the speed that Povetkin has, because that was one of his advantages. I think he was faster than AJ. He was still able to get that right over the top. Basically, there wasn't 1 round in this fight that Povetkin did not go over the jab or catch, Joshua with that looping right hand. Okay, there wasn't 1 time in this fight, not even the last round, because see, the last round he got caught with a short quick Mike Tyson like punch because it came right from here, and he connected with it. Povetkin did a little dance, the legs don't lie, and it was followed by a beautiful left hook, and that was the beginning of the end. Now I want to mind you, when Povetkin hit the ground, he was in his corner, okay, and his trainer grabbed his glove, and I don't know if he tried to help him up, but he ended up pulling him. And if you've seen Povetkin, if he slid forward, his head slid in, kind of like Ricky Hatton did with Floyd Mayweather, threw the left hook at him. When that happened, that was because he was just so disembobulated. You know what I mean? And but I think his trainer was initially trying to help him, but it made him look a lot messed up. I mean, he was buzzed. He was dazed. You know what I mean? Because the punches that he received, he took a quick short right, then followed with a left hook. Then another right hand, then another left hook, and then followed with a straight right. And that would put him down. Okay. Then he finally gets back up. Honestly, the way he was attempting to get up, they should have just waved that off. If that would have been in the States, they would have waved that off. And they let him get in there, and it really didn't do any good, because AJ just finished him off after that. And then they stopped it, and he still fell, but the thing is, a 39-year-old Alexander Povetkin did make a great account of himself. I want to add this too. I didn't like the way AJ held hit behind the head because of one of those punches. Because Povetkin, he was cut, I think, in the third or the fourth round. And I think he was cut due to one of those punches. And I think that punch was because what would happen when Povetkin would counter over Joshua's jab, Joshua, he would get caught with that jab, but he would leave that left out there, and he would cuff the back of Povetkin's neck, and a lot of those, he did that a couple times in this fight. And I know one particular time Povetkin did counter effectively. Bow, caught Joshua, and Joshua grabbed him and kind of held him. And then before he let him go, he threw that uppercut, and then, of course, he's famous for that uppercut that he almost took Klitschko's head off with, right? But that was one of the same things. But Klitschko had it coming because Klitschko was, he was notorious for just grabbing people behind the head. So he went to grabbing himself, and AJ took advantage and bow, but he still had his head, he had his hand behind his head. Now, that, I must address everything, all the faults, because I noticed that, and I don't particularly like that because, especially coming from a shorter fighter like that, he could get that punch off a little easier with a shorter guy. But definitely holding someone behind the head and having their head stable enough to get that punch off, that's illegal. You're not supposed to hold and hit. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what he did. The only difference is in the Klitschko fight, he held him, and then as soon as he threw that punch, he uncuffed it. You know what I mean? Lennox Lewis used to be notorious for that too. He did that a lot. But I got to address that, and if he does, fight in the future, whoever fights AJ, the trainer has to be smart enough, more experienced enough, to look out for that during the fight, because the referee didn't say jack. You know what I mean? He didn't say anything, right? So, I got to let that out. AJ, I didn't like how he was dropping his left hand. Yeah, the right came eventually. He set up the right, and the good thing he did, because I feel he was losing that fight 5 rounds to 2. Or at least 4 rounds to 3, but I would give it 5 rounds to 2 because Povetkin was doing what he was supposed to do, and then I'm looking at this guy and I'm thinking to myself, like, what is Wilder thinking right now? Looking at a guy that he could have faced, you know what I mean? What's Klitschko thinking right now? A guy that went 12 rounds with me, AJ got him out in 7. You know what I mean? It's a lot of things that that I'm thinking of when I'm watching this fight, because I just watched it again. But the sportsmanship was good. The respect for both fighters were good. That, I mean, that had no problem throughout, the press conferences and, and the promotion of the fight. These guys respected each other. There wasn't any bashing of the ped use, and I got to add this. Alexander Povetkin, despite, the things that happened in his career, he has a good record, like I stated before, but he shouldn't quit. I don't think that he should quit this quick. I think that he should try to fight someone on the way down to keep himself at a level, or at least try to go now. Well, I mean, I would like to see what Wilder would do with him, because Wilder, again, was that guy in line to fight him. And until all this, this unfortunateness happened, with a failed drug test. So, but I do wonder what Wilder says about this, because after this fight was over, right? They asked AJ who he wants. He said, hey, I'll put up a poll. But then they kept asking him, you know what I mean? He was like, well, hey, there's guys, anybody can, come get my title. Anybody can challenge me. Then he was like, well, the number one person will be Wilder. And he said, you know what? There ain't no 2 or 3. And I like that. I like how he just, hey, you know what? I don't want no one else, because see, alternatives are easily happening. And if you notice, he talked to Eddie Hearn. He was like, there ain't no mandatories that's going to just pop up right now. And all right, I've done all my mandatories, right? So, they was like, no. And he was like, okay, well, we'll see about that. You know what I mean? Like, it just, that can convey that, that he didn't know about this mandatory when he fought, Alexander, so, but no, it was a really good fight as long as it lasted. The next fight, April 13th, they wanted to be Wilder. So, and I think it's more of Wilder accepting the terms now. And then the problem is, and then if you notice too, mind you, if you notice that they asked AJ who you think will win, he said, well, I wish them both the best. But then yet he said, hey, I want to fight Wilder. So that already tells you that he thinks Wilder's going to win. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't even give Tyson Fury a shot, because he didn't mention Tyson Fury. He didn't say, I think I will take the winner out of the two. He said, no, I want to fight Wilder next. You know what I'm saying? So that's already him in his own way assuming and thinking or predicting that Wilder will beat Fury. You know what I'm saying? Because he said, I want Wilder, meaning Wilder will still be there. Because if Wilder wasn't there, if he gets beat by Fury, Fury had already went on social media and said, he's a shit house and he'll never fight him. You know what I mean? Because when I beat Deontay Wilder, his performance was green, and he has a lot to learn, and he can't outbox an egg. You know what I mean? Things like that. So, a lot of that stuff happened tonight. But yeah, I think it's a question on who really, it's up to Wilder if he wants this fight or not, if he'll sign that contract. And there's a contract to be signed. There is a date. There is a venue. And there is a contract. So those are 3 things that you said, or at least 2 out of those 3 things that you said that you needed to get this fight done. You know what I'm saying? And 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Just like the song. So, the only question or the only fear that I have with that would be Wilder beating Fury, and then Wilder and his expectations after that. You know what I mean? And it's just up to, then it will be back in the question of, will Hearn allow that type of money to go to Deontay Wilder? You know what I'm saying? So we have a lot to discuss, but a lot was said. Joshua was adamant about, hey, I want Wilder. He's number 1. So, it's up to Wilder. Wilder now has to do what he's supposed to do with Fury. You know what I mean? If he can get the job done, okay, this fight, there's really no one else to fight. There's no one really else to fight. I mean, I mean, there could be other fights that could put, but the next best fight is Joshua Wilder, man. That's it. That's what it comes down to. And I do want to know what Wilder says when I do find out his response. I will drop you guys a video and let you guys know. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about this fight. It was on the DAZN app. Again, I will leave that link. You know, you get the first month free. So it ain't like it's coming out of your account right now if you don't have the money. You know what I'm saying? It'll come out this time 30 days from now. So, you know, that will give you an opportunity to watch the fight to see what I saw, and I saw a good fight. So, of course, you guys check that out. Check out the fight. Of course, please subscribe. Leave your comments below. Hit the bell icon, and you guys been counterpunched. Peace.